Hello, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Sorry for the late update on the readings here and pretty much all my other quote unquote content. uh, Today we'll be finishing uh, chapter 6, the 12th planet. In the last video, we left off on page 191. In 1900, T.G. Pinches reported to the Royal Asiatic Society that he was able to reassemble and reconstruct a complete Mesopotamian astrolabe, literally taker of stars. He showed it to be a circular disc divided by a pie into 12 segments and 3 concentric rings, resulting in a field of 36 portions. The whole design had the appearance of a rosette of 12 leaves, each of which had the name of a month written in it. Pinches marked them 1 to 12 for convenience, starting with Niz Anu, the first month of the Mesopotamian calendar, on figure 94, the next page. Each of the 36 portions also contained a name with a small circle below it, signifying that it was the name of a celestial body. The names have since been found in many texts and star lists and are undoubtedly the names of constellations, stars, or planets. Turning the page, here's figure 94 that Mr. T.G. Pinches was reporting to the Royal Asiatic Society, which was a calendar, and not just a calendar. Sitchin also said it was an astrological calendar. Each of the 36 segments also had a number written below the name of the celestial body. In the innermost ring, the numbers ranged from 30 to 60. In the central ring, from 60, written as 1, to 120. This 2 in the sexagesimal system meant 2 times 60 equals 120. And in the outermost ring, from 120 to 240. What did these numbers represent? Writing nearly 50 years after the presentation by Pinches, the astronomer and Assyriologist O. Neugebauer, in A History of Ancient Astronomy, Problems and Methods, could only say that the whole text constitutes some kind of schematic celestial map. In each of the 36 fields, we find the name of a constellation and simple numbers. Turn the page. Whose significance is not yet clear. A leading expert on the subject, B. L. van der Weerden, in Babylonian astronomy, the 36 stars, reflecting on the apparent rise and fall of the numbers in some rhythm, could only suggest that the numbers have something to do with the duration of daylight. The puzzle can be solved, we believe, only if one discards the notion that the Mesopotamians believed in a flat earth. Excuse me, everyone. Sorry. And recognizes that their astronomical knowledge was as good as ours, not because they had better instruments than we do, but because their source of information was the Nephilim. We suggest that the enigmatic numbers represent degrees of the celestial arc, with the North Pole as a starting point, and that the astrolabe was a planisphere, the representation of a sphere upon a flat surface. While the numbers increase and decrease, those in opposite segments of the way of Enlil, such as Nisanu 50, Tashritu 40, add up to 90. All those for the way of Anu add up to 180, and all those for the way of Ea add up to 360, such as Nisanu 200, Tashritu 160. These figures are too familiar to be misunderstood. They represent segments of a complete spherical circumference, a quarter of the way, which is 90 degrees, halfway, 180 degrees, or full circle, 360 degrees. The numbers given for the way of Enlil are so paired as to show that this Sumerian segment of the northern sky is stretched over 60 degrees from the North Pole, bordering on the way of Anu at 30 degrees above the equator. The way of Anu was equidistant on both sides of the equator, reaching to 30 degrees south below the equator. Then further south and furthest away from the North Pole lay the way of Ea, that part of Earth and of the celestial globe that lay between 30 degrees south and the South Pole in figure 95, the next page. Yes, the next page. The numbers in the way of Ea segments add up to 180 degrees in Adaru from February to March, and Ululu in August to September. The only point that is 180 degrees away from the North Pole, whether you go south on the east or on the west, is the South Pole, and this can hold true only if one deals with the sphere. Here's figure 95. And it's the depiction. Remember reading in the previous update when the heavens were separated into three parts. Um, the northern way was named after Enlil, the southern is after Ea, and the central is the way of Anu. See, as you see it there, A, right in the middle of it all, is the way of Anu, the celestial band of the sun, planets, and the constellations of the zodiac. B, on the top, is the way of Enlil, the northern skies, and C, on the bottom, the way of Ea, the southern skies. Precession is the phenomena caused by the wobble of Earth's north to south axis, causing the North Pole, the one pointing at the North Star, and the South Pole to trace a grand circle in the heavens. This apparent retardation of Earth against the starry constellations amounts to about 50 seconds of an arc in 1 year, or 1 degree in 72 years. The grand circle, the time it takes the Earth's North Pole to point again at the same North Star, therefore lasts 25,920 years, which is 72 times 360. And that is what the astronomers call the Great Year, or the Platonian Year, for apparently Plato too was aware of the phenomena. The rising and setting of various stars deemed significant in antiquity, and these precise determination of the spring equinox, which ushered in the new year, were related to the zodiacal house in which they occurred. Due to the precession, the spring equinox, and the other celestial phenomena being retarded from year to year, were finally retarded once in 2,160 years by a full zodiacal house. Let me grab some coffee. Our astronomers continue to employ a 0 point, the first point of Aries, which is marked which marked the spring equinox circa 900 BC. But this sorry, but this point has by now shifted well into the house of Pisces circa AD 2100. The spring equinox will begin to occur in the preceding house of Aquarius. This is what is meant by those who say that we are about to enter the age of Aquarius. Below is figure 96. I'm going to try and get it on the picture here. But that's basically a representation of the equinoxes passing through seasons and how long it takes to rotate through the quote unquote house of each zodiac. Because a shift from one zodiacal house to another takes more than 2 millennia, scholars wondered how and where Hipparchus could have learned of the precession in the 2nd century BC. It is now clear that his source was Sumerian. Professor Langdon's findings revealed that the Nippurian calendar, established circa 4400 BC, in the age of Taurus, reflects the knowledge of the precession and the shift of zodiacal houses that took place 2,160 years earlier than that. Professor Jeremias, who correlated Mesopotamian astronomical texts with Hittite astronomical texts, was also of the opinion that older astronomical tablets recorded the change from Taurus to Aries, and he concluded that the Mesopotamian astronomers predicted and anticipated the shift from Aries to Pisces. Subscribing to these conclusions, Professor Willie Hartner, in the earliest history of the constellations in the Near East, suggested that the Sumerians left behind plentiful pictorial evidence to that effect. When the spring equinox was in the zodiac of Taurus, the summer solstice occurred in the zodiac of Leo. Hartner drew attention to the recurrent motif of a bull-lion combat appearing in Sumerian depictions from earliest times, and suggested that these motifs represented the key positions of the constellations of Taurus, which is the bull, and Leo, the lion, to an observer at 30 degrees north, such as at Ur in circa 4000 BC, figure 97 below. I'm gonna let you guys have a look at that while I refill my coffee, guys. So as we see here, we got that star right there, the four-pointed star Sitchin was talking about. We have our bull, our L, sneaking up on Leo from behind. Most scholars consider that the Sumerian stress of Taurus as their first constellation, as evidence not only of the antiquity of the zodiac dating to circa 4000 BC, but also as testifying to the time when Sumerian civilization so suddenly began. Professor Jeremias, in the Old Testament in the light of the ancient East, found evidence showing that the Sumerian zodiacal chronological point zero stood precisely between the bull and the twins. From this and other data, he concluded that the zodiac was devised in the age of Gemini, the twins, that is, even before Sumerian civilization began. A Sumerian tablet in the Berlin Museum categorized VAT.7847, begins the list of zodiacal constellations with that of Leo, taking us back to circa 11,000 BC, when man had just begun to till the land. Professor H. V. Hilprecht in the Babylonian expedition of the University of Pennsylvania went even further. Studying thousands of tablets bearing mathematical tabulations, he concluded that all the multiplication and division tables from the temple libraries of Nippur and Sapar, and from the library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, are based upon the number that would be, oh gosh, which would be 12,960,000. Analyzing this number and its significance, he concluded that it could be related only to the phenomenon of the precession, and that the Sumerians knew of the great year of 25,920 years. This is indeed fantastic astronomical sophistication at an impossible time. Just as it is evident that the Sumerian astronomers possessed knowledge that they could not possibly have acquired on their own, so is there evidence to show that a good deal of their knowledge was no practical use to them. This pertains not only to the very sophisticated astronomical methods that were used, who in ancient Sumer really needed to establish a celestial equator, for example, but also to a variety of elaborate texts that deal with the measurement of distances between stars. One of these texts, known as AO.6478, lists the 26 major stars visible along the line we now call the Tropic of Cancer, and gives distances between them as measured in three different ways. The first text gives the distances between these stars, by a unit called mana shukultu, measured and weighed. It is believed that this was an ingenious device that related the weight of escaping water to the passage of time. Excuse me. It made possible the determination of distances between two stars in terms of time. The second column of distances was in terms of degrees of the arc of the skies. The full day, which is daylight and nighttime, was divided into 12 double hours. The arc of the heavens comprised a full circle of 360 degrees. Hence, one baru, or double hour, represented 30 degrees of the arc of the heavens. By this method, passage of time on earth provided a measure of the distances in degrees between the named celestial bodies. The third method of measurement was baru in a shame, which translates length in the skies. F. Thorodangin in distances entre étoiles fixes pointed out that while the first two methods were relative to other phenomena, this third method provided absolute measurements. A celestial baru, he and others believe, was equivalent to 10,692 of our present day meters, which is 11,693 yards. The distance in the skies between the 26 stars was calculated in the text as adding up to 655,200 baru drawn in the skies. The availability of three different methods of measuring distances between the stars conveys the great importance attached to the matter. Yet, who among the men and women of Sumer needed such knowledge, and who among them could devise the methods and accurately use them? The only possible answer is the Nephilim had the knowledge and the need for such accurate measurements. Capable of space travel, arriving on Earth from another planet, roaming Earth's skies, they were the only ones who could and did possess, at the dawn of mankind's civilization, the astronomical knowledge that required millennia to develop, the sophisticated methods and mathematics and concepts for an advanced astronomy, and the need to teach human scribes to copy and record meticulously table upon table of distances in the heavens, order of stars and groups of stars, heliacal risings and settings, a complex sun to moon to earth calendar, and the rest of the remarkable knowledge of both heaven and earth. Against this background, can it still be assumed that the Mesopotamian astronomers, guided by the Nephilim, were not aware of the planets beyond Saturn, that they did not know of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto? Was their knowledge of Earth's own family, the solar system, less complete than that of distant stars, their order and their distances? Gosh, that's hot. Astronomical information from ancient times contained in hundreds of detailed text lists celestial bodies, neatly arranged by their celestial order or by the gods, or the months, or the lands, or the constellations with which they were associated. One such text, analyzed by Ernest F. Widener in Handbuch der Babylonischen Astronomie, has come to be called the Great Star List. It listed in 5 columns tens of celestial bodies as related to one another, to months, countries, and deities. Another text listed correctly the main stars in the zodiacal constellations. A text indexed as BM 86378 arranged in its unbroken part 71 celestial bodies by their location in the heavens, and so on and on and on. In efforts to make sense of this legion of texts, and in particular to identify correctly the planets of our solar system, a succession of scholars came up with confusing results. As we now know, their efforts were doomed to failure because they incorrectly assumed that the Sumerians and their successors were unaware that the solar system was heliocentric, that Earth was but another planet, and that there were more planets beyond Saturn. Ignoring the possibility that some names in the star list may have applied to Earth itself, seeking to apply the great number of other names and epithets only to the 5 planets they believed were known to the Sumerians, scholars reached conflicting conclusions. Some scholars even suggested that the confusion was not theirs, but a Chaldean mix up. For some unknown reason, they said, the Chaldeans had switched around the names of the 5 known planets. The Sumerians referred to all celestial bodies, planets, stars, or constellations as Mul, M-U-L, which translates who shine in the heights. The Akkadian term kabab, kakab, was likewise applied by the Babylonians and Assyrians as a general term for any celestial body. This practice further frustrated the scholars seeking to unravel the ancient astronomical text, but some mules that were termed Lu-Bad clearly designated planets of our solar system. Knowing that the Greek name for the planets was wanderers, the scholars have read Lu-Bad as wandering sheep, deriving from Lu, which translates those which are shepherded, and Bad, which translates high and afar. But now that we have shown that the Sumerians were fully aware of the true nature of the solar system, the other meanings of the term bad, which translated the Olden, the foundation, the one where death is, assume direct significance. These are appropriate epithets for the sun, and it follows that by Lubad the Sumerians meant not mere wandering sheep, but sheep shepherded by the sun, the planets of our sun. The location and relation of the Lubad excuse me, to each other and to the sun were described in many Mesopotamian astronomical texts. There were references to those planets that are above and those that are below, and Kugler correctly guessed that the reference point was Earth itself, but mostly the planets were spoken of in the framework of astronomical texts dealing with mul mul, a term that kept the scholars guessing. In the absence of a better solution, most scholars have agreed that the term mul mul stood for the Pleiades, a cluster of stars in the zodiacal constellation of Taurus, and the one through which the axis of the spring equinox passed, as viewed from Babylon in circa 2200 BC. Mesopotamian texts often indicated that the mul mul indicated seven lumash, which translates seven wanderers that are familiar, and the scholars assumed that these were the brightest members of the Pleiades, which can be seen with the naked eye. The fact that, depending on classification, the group has either 6 or 9 such bright stars and not 7 posed as a problem, but it was brushed aside for lack of any better ideas as to the meaning of mul mul. Franz Kugler in Sternkund und Sterndienst in Babel reluctantly accepted the Pleiades as the solution, but expressed his astonishment when he found it stated unambiguously in Mesopotamian texts that Mul Mul included not only wanderers, which are planets, but also the sun and the moon, making it impossible to retain the Pleiades idea. He also came upon texts that clearly stated the Mul Mul Ul Shu 12. Mul Mul is a band of 12, of which 10 formed a distinct group. We suggest that the term Mul Mul referred to the solar system using the repetitive Mul Mul to indicate the group as a whole, as the celestial body comprising all celestial bodies. Charles Virolud in El Astrologie Chaldeani trans- transliterated a Mesopotamian text dubbed K.3558 that describes the members of the Mul Mul or Kakabu group. The text's last line is explicit. Kakabu, the number of its celestial bodies is 12. The stations of its celestial bodies, 12. The complete months of the moon is 12. The text leave no doubt the Mul Mul, our solar system, was made up of 12 members. Perhaps this should not come as a surprise for the Greek scholar Diodorus, explaining the 3 ways of the Chaldeans and the consequent listing of 36 celestial bodies, stated that of those celestial gods, 12 hold chief authority. To each of these, the Chaldeans assign a month and a sign of the zodiac. Ernest Widener in Der Tierkreis und die Weise am Himmel, I may have butchered that, everyone, reported that in addition to the Way of Anu and its 12 zodiac constellations, Some texts also referred to the way of the sun, which was also made up of 12 celestial bodies, the sun, the moon, and 10 others. Line 20 of the so-called TE tablet stated, Nafar 12, Shirmesh, Hala Shah Kakab Lu, Shasin U Shamash Inalibi Itiku, which means all in all, 12 members where the moon and sun belong, where the planets orbit. We can now grasp the significance of the number 12 in the ancient world. The great circle of Sumerian gods and of all Olympian gods thereafter comprised exactly 12 younger gods who could join this circle only if older gods retired. Likewise, a vacancy had to be filled to retain the divine number 12. The principal celestial circle, the way of the sun, with its 12 members, set the pattern according to which each I'm sorry, y'all. According to which each other celestial band was divided into 12 segments or was allocated 12 principal celestial bodies. Accordingly, there were 12 months in a year, 12 double hours in a day. Each division of Sumer was assigned 12 celestial bodies as a measure of good luck. Many studies, such as the one by S. Langdon in Babylonian Menologies and the Semitic calendar, show that the division of the year into 12 months was, from its very beginnings, related to the 12 great gods. Fritz Hammel in Die Astronomie der Alten Chaldeer and others after him have shown that the 12 months were closely connected with the 12 zodiacs and that both derived from 12 principal celestial bodies. Charles F. Jean in Lexicologie Sumérienne reproduced a Sumerian list of 24 celestial bodies that paired 12 zodiacal constellations with 12 members of our solar system. In a long text identified by F. Thoreau Dongan in Rituales Acadians, excuse me, as a temple program for the New Year festival in Babylon. The evidence for the consecration of 12 as the central celestial phenomenon is persuasive. The Great Temple, the Esagila, had 12 gates. The powers of all the celestial gods were vested in Marduk by reciting 12 times the pronouncement, My Lord, is he not my Lord? The mercy of the god was then invoked 12 times, and that of his spouse 12 times. The total of 24 was then matched with the 12 zodiacal constellations and 12 members of the solar system. A boundary stone carved with the symbols of the celestial bodies by a king of Susa depicts those 24 signs, the familiar 12 signs of the zodiac and symbols that stand for the 12 members of the solar system. These were the 12 astral gods of Mesopotamia as well as of the Hurrian, Hittite, Greek, and all other ancient pantheons in Figure 98, the next page. Although our natural counting base is the number 10, the number 12 permeated all matter celestial and divine long after the Sumerians were gone. There were 12 Greek titans, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 parts to the magical breastplate of the Israelite high priests. The power of the celestial 12 carried over to the 12 apostles of Jesus. And even in our decimal system, we count from 1 to 12, and only after 12 do we return to 10 and 3, 13, 10 and 4, and so on. Where did this powerful decisive number 12 stem from? From the heavens. For the solar system, the Mulmul indicated, in addition to all the planets known to us, also the planet of Anu, the one whose symbol, a radiant celestial body, stood in the Sumerian writing for the god Anu and for divine. And here on the top is figure 98, which represents our suns, as you can see here up on top, guys. And each of these temples behind the animals there is the constellations of the zodiac, each with their representative animal, and the planets in our solar system. The Kakab of the supreme scepter is one of the sheep in Mulmul, explained in astronomical text. And when Marduk usurped the supremacy and replaced Anu as the god associated with this planet, the Babylonians said, the planet of Marduk within Mulmul appears, teaching humanity the true nature of earth and the heavens. The Nephilim informed the ancient astronomer priests not only of the planets beyond Saturn, but also of the existence of the most important planet, the one from which they came, the 12th planet. And that does it for the entirety of chapter 6, titled The 12th Planet, in Zecharia Sitchin's book, The 12th Planet. Well, I hope that was quite interesting for those who have been following along. I want to take a quick moment and thanking you all for being here, for liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. I really do appreciate it. I mean, my family does, because they see me growing here, and pretty much something new. That being said, everyone, I hope everyone has a blessed day. Stay safe, and most importantly, stays calm. Thank you all. Love you all.